So, there's been a lot of talk about, like IULs, IUL companies, things like that, and like what the difference is between Primerica and some of these other IUL companies. And so that's exactly what we're going to be getting into today. All right. And so, and if throughout this process, if anybody has any questions about this, just feel free to ask me about it. I'd be happy to explain it more in detail. I'm just waiting for this presentation to pull up here, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Make sure it's recording.
Yeah, it is recording. Yeah.
Fire it up.
Give me 1 second. Yeah, but while I'm waiting for this presentation to pull up, do any of you guys know of like the YouTube channel called like the Diary of a CEO? Have any of you guys ever heard of that before? Diary of a CEO. I definitely recommend that you guys watch it. There's this guy, and obviously he has this YouTube channel, and what he does on this YouTube channel is he interviews really really successful people. He interviews CEOs obviously, and business owners and things like that. And so I was watching one on the way here to the office, and it was Mr. Beast. Funny enough, and he was talking about like one of the things that he always starts off like asking about like people's childhoods and like what led them to kind of pursue like where they're at currently right now in life. And what he had said was pretty like profound. He said that it's funny because he hires a lot of people right now, like his production company. They have about 500 employees. But and then his like Feastables company, they have like about 100, but they've worked with thousands and thousands of people. And obviously, he has to let some people go throughout that process, and he can't keep everybody on. And he said what separates the people that he decides to keep in on his production team and keep them like tight knit with him. It really what separates them is their obsession with what they do. He said that the people that are absolutely obsessed with what they do, not that they like it, not that they don't love it, but they're absolutely obsessed with what they do, are the ones that that he decides that he's going to invest a lot of time into them. He said that he'd rather train somebody for a year and have them stay with him in business for 9, 10, 20, 30 years than work with somebody and hire them, train them for 6 months and then be gone in a year. He said it's just a waste of time. And he said the reason why he said that he's found so much success in life and so much success is in building these companies is simply just because of his obsession. He said that he found like this innate ability that he said unfortunately hasn't found in anybody else just yet. But he's found this innate ability to just to be super super just laser focused on one task and become absolutely obsessed with it and develop it into a massive company. And what I took away from that is, man, same thing in Primerica. The ones that go on to go build a massive agency, the ones that go on to become really, really good at what they do are the ones that become absolutely obsessed with it. You can't like Primerica, you can't love Primerica, you can't, just show up to the office every once in a while and think that like you're gonna get this thing going because man, that's just like totally not true. And I was watching another video of I forget his actual name, but Mr. Wonderful. Anybody know his actual name? What's his name? Yeah, Kevin O'Leary, right? Kevin O'Leary, right? And he said the same exact thing. He said the same exact thing in his interview, with him as well. And so I just thought it was just super, super, just profound, that they thought the same exact thing. So, but I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna share my screen here. It's finally loaded. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started and talk about, what's the difference between some of these companies. Why is it that, I decided to work with Primerica? Why won't I go work, anywhere else? And it starts at becoming a competent field trainer. In order to understand like the mission behind Primerica, in order to understand like why we do what we do here at Primerica, you got to understand the difference between different policies. I'm going to show you guys a policy today too. But we got some myths about the industry, right? And so to kind of backtrack a little bit, right? We have cash value life insurance and we have term insurance. All right, so cash value life insurance, right? A lot of veterans in the room, you guys know what that is, but it's basically they sell these policies by saying, hey, do you want life insurance with savings or without savings? And what do you think everybody pretty much says?
Savings.
With savings. I want life insurance with savings. I want life insurance with savings. This is gonna be awesome, right? I want life insurance with savings. And a lot of these agents, you come to find there's a pretty big agency that's actually here like local to the Tampa area, and man, their content is just amazing. They do a really, really good job with, making content, shooting videos, running ads, all these different types of things. And I came across their page the other day. I was just looking through some of their stuff. I was like, man, this sounds freaking incredible. This sounds awesome. They're talking about, man, this is a great investment. You can become your own bank, right? They're talking about he made a video and he was talking about 401ks versus IULs. And when he was talking about the 401ks, he's like, man, 401ks through your job are terrible. And he said, because a 401k through your job, you have to pay taxes on that. Man, if you invest through an IUL, it's tax free. Carl, doesn't that sound great?
Incredible. Yeah, yes, sir.
Invest through an IUL through your job, it's completely tax free. Well, let's kind of like debunk that myth right there, right? So, the reason why IULs are tax free is because you're actually taking a net loss. Does that make sense? Right? You only pay taxes on a gain, right? That's why we have capital gains taxes in the United States. There's no such thing as a capital loss tax, is there? I've never heard of it. It doesn't exist, right? So that's why IULs and whole life policies and variable universal life insurance policies, that's why there's no taxes that are paid on them because you're taking a loss every single time. You're getting charged super, super high fees. Right? The idea of becoming your own bank doesn't exist. It sounds great in theory. It sounds absolutely phenomenal. Like Ari, I want you to think about this, right? So their concept behind like becoming your own bank. Anybody heard of like becoming some of the new people here? I see a lot of new people. Have you guys ever heard of like becoming your own bank with like life insurance policies? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So, let's think about this. So they say that you can borrow your own money and then you can use that to, you get a loan, right? And you can use that to go start a business, to buy a house, put a down payment on a car, whatever. All right. Let's think about this. Right. What does the word like borrow mean? Right. Like I gotta pay it back. The money's not actually mine originally, right? Because like, can I borrow my own car? Like this morning, did I borrow my car to get here? How can I borrow my own car? It's already mine. It's already in my possession. Like I already own it, right? Like can I ask myself to borrow $100? That literally makes zero sense. That's not a loan. You can't loan money from yourself. I can only loan money from somebody else, and then I pay it back to them with interest, right? So what does that tell you? If you really think about it, what does that tell you? Is the money actually ever yours? No, it's not actually yours because if you can borrow it, it was never yours in the first place to begin with. And we'll talk about that here in a second, right? But that's exactly true in whole life, universal life, and variable life insurance policies, right? And if you really look into the contracts, it actually they don't directly state this in the contract, right? But the people that write these contracts, they're lawyers. They're very, very smart. Right. I mean, think about like the people that, that write Primerica's life insurance contracts. I mean, like these people probably graduated from Harvard, Yale, Princeton. I mean, like some of the best universities in the world. They're very, very smart people. And so we can kind of infer what they mean by certain things, right? If somebody leaves something out of a contract on purpose, I mean, it's kind of on purpose then, right? And if you're one of the smartest lawyers in the world, you left something out of a contract, more than likely you did it intentionally. So what they say in the life insurance contracts for all these cash value life insurance policies is that they say that the death benefit is payable to the beneficiary. But what don't they say? The cash value. They don't say anything about the cash value. They do that intentionally, right? They don't mention the cash value. They just say the death benefit, which is just the life insurance coverage, right? So what that means, or what we can infer from that, is that the client is actually has no legal right to any of the money that they've been putting into the life insurance policy and been saving, right? And that's true across every single life insurance policy with cash value attached to it, with the exception of a couple. It's called option B, or be like second option, sometimes what it's called. Ridiculously expensive though. Like 100,000 in coverage would cost you like $1,000 a month. Like absolutely ridiculous. All right. But the next thing, right, is that it's great for college savings. Has anybody come across a Gerber life insurance policy before?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So do you guys know how they sell these policies? Anybody have kids here? Yeah. So you guys got kids? All right. Awesome. When you guys had your child, right? Did you guys get a letter in the mail, maybe like a week or so after, from Gerber, right? And they were trying to offer the life insurance policy because that's actually what they do. So there's a registry of, all the babies being born in the United States, similar to, there's a registry of everybody that gets their life insurance license in the United States. When you guys got your life insurance license, you guys get a bunch of messages from a bunch of different companies. Hey, you should come work with us, blah, blah, blah. The same thing happens with kids. Right? Like when you have a child, Gerber, they buy basically a lead list of everybody that's had a kid and they send them a letter in the mail, offer them life insurance, and they say, hey, you should get this life insurance policy. It's also a great investment for your kids to go to college. And by the time that they're 18 years old, they have enough money saved, yada, yada, yada. And if you guys ever looked at a life insurance policy through Gerber, there's no way that you're gonna have enough money to go to college. I had a policy that was reviewed a couple of years back. It was 18 years, had like no savings in the policy. After 18 years of having the policy, she had like $490 saved inside the cash value, never took a single dollar out of it. It was $110 a month for 10,000 in coverage and 100,000 in accidental life insurance. Isn't that absolutely insane? Do you think that her kid could go to college off of that? No way. Right. So is it really a great college savings plan?
No.
Not even close. Exactly. Not even a semester. It's my younger brother. He just transferred from FIU over to USF. Go Bulls. All right. But man, the cost of him just going to like the dining hall, whatever you call it, is ridiculously expensive. It cost me like $500 a semester, and he gets like it's like 20 swipes or something like that, which is essentially just like two swipes like to enter in like per day, I think, or something like that is kind of what it comes out to. It's like terrible. I mean, it's all you can eat, but he gets like 2 meals a day, basically. That's just like it. And the food's not the best, but it cost me like $500 a semester. So, this Gerber life insurance policy wouldn't even be able to take care of my brother being able to go eat, not even for a semester. They'd be like $5 short of him being able to eat his food. All right. The next thing is that they talk about competitive returns. And they try to sound all savvy and fancy when they talk about this stuff. Like, man, you got competitive returns in the market. I know it's funny. You don't need an investment license to sell an IUL or a whole life policy. You guys know that? Actually, how I teach like some of the new agents when they're studying for their life insurance license, it's like how you remember like variable life insurance. The only thing you really need to know about variable life insurance is just go like this, hold up 2 fingers, right? What letter is this, George? All right. And how many fingers? All right. So variable life insurance, right? It's a V, 2 licenses, right? That's all you need to know about variable life insurance. Right. That's what I tell them in order to pass their exam. All right. So, variable is the only one that you need for to actually you only the only life insurance you need the only life insurance policy that you need 2 licenses to sell. You need the life and the investment. Right. But for the IUL, you don't. Now, why don't you need it if you can invest into the market, get competitive returns? Because you're not actually investing into the market. You're investing into the company's separate account. All right. So what that means is that the company, like they set up their own set of like portfolio class, their own asset allocation, their own, asset classes, and you just get invested into whatever the heck they decide to put you into. All right. Now, do you think that you get all, do you think that you guys get to participate in all of the performance of the market? Heck no, not even close. I was looking at an IUL yesterday, and they were capped out at 4.9%. The market's at all-time highs right now. Like in history of the world, the market's at like all-time highs right now. And this client, they're capped out at 4.9%. But who do you think gets the rest of it? The company, right? So they're taking your money. If anything, they're using you to become their bank, right? They're taking your money, right? And then they're investing it for themselves, right? Let's say that the market, I don't know, I'm just throwing random. Let's say that the market did like 12% last year. I don't know what it actually did, but let's just say it did 12% last year, right? If you're capped out at 4.9%, you only participate in 4.9 and the company kept the rest of the gains. And they use that money to continue to grow their empire and then continue to sell this crap to other people. All right. I just got off the phone actually this morning with one of my new agents studying for his license. He asked me, he called me because he was confused about what a revocable versus irrevocable beneficiary was. He said that the course was like super confusing. But he right now he valets cars at the Addition in downtown Tampa. Right. So a lot of really, really, like rich people, stay there and like kind of come through that area and stuff. And he was like, man, I see so many people that they sell life insurance and that they run their own agencies, this and that, and he's like, man, they freaking hate you guys. He's like, I'm being so serious. Like they talk like the most trash about you guys. Like they cannot stand you guys. Like they were getting like so mad that like I was working with Primerica, and I was telling him, I was like, dude, join training. That's what we're gonna talk about this morning. All right. And I was like, they hate us for a reason, right? And it's because that we replaced their life insurance policies because they sell crap. All right. So the difference between buy term and invest the difference. All right. So, WUV, right? It's whole life, universal, and variable life insurance policies. All right. This is like a very, very basic illustration of kind of what happens here. All right. It doesn't usually work out exactly like this, but it gets you a good idea of how it works out. All right. So let's say that you buy a life insurance policy for 100,000. All right, they're all what you guys need to know about these three whole life, universal, and variables that they all work the same. They're just structured differently. And I see some of you guys are taking notes, and for those of you guys that are newer, to kind of give you guys a bit of an idea of kind of like how these work, like universal life insurance. The way I like to describe it to people that are licensed, at least, is that it's an annual renewable, increasing term life insurance policy with a cash value attached to it. Was I speaking Chinese? That makes sense? Yeah. Okay. All right. So some people look a little confused. So, but that's the way I like to describe universal life insurance policies. And essentially, what they do is that they eat themselves. Right. So, like I said, the policy is annual renewable. Right. So it gets more expensive each year. Right. And so eventually, what happens is that the amount of money that you're paying on a monthly basis exceeds like what you're paying them. Does that make sense? So like right now, I mean, in this example, we're paying like $100 a month. Eventually, since it's an annual renewable life insurance policy, that 100,000 in coverage is going to start costing like 120, 140, $160 a month. But they're only going to ever charge you $100. Where do you think they get like that 20, 30, or 40, 60 extra dollars from? The cash value. Right. And eventually that cash value depletes itself. It gets to zero. And does anybody know what happens when the cash value on a life insurance policy hits zero? The policy lapses. It no longer exists anymore. Right. And so that's how I like to describe universal life insurance policies. All right. And those are probably the more complicated ones. And variable life insurance works very, very similar to whole life insurance, except for you're not invested into the company's separate account. You're invested into the actual market. Does that make sense? Remember I was talking about how you're invested in the company's separate account. So in universal and whole life, both of them, you're invested into the separate account. But with variable, you're actually invested into the market, right? But you still have like some caps and things like that on the performance that you can actually get. Okay. So, but essentially, in most cases, this is really how they break down, right? For most of them, there's a certain period of time of like where you can't save money, right? Like I was talking about, I had a client that was 18 years. Most cases, it's not that bad. I've seen a few, but usually it's not that bad. All right. Usually it's just like 1 to 3 years. Right? 9 times out of 10, it's like 3 though. All right. And for those first 3 years, right? I mean, like imagine that's like Julian, go into your bank, open up a savings account for 3 years, you're putting money into your account. You go back, ask them for the account balance. Maybe you want to buy a ring for your girlfriend, right? And you ask them for the account balance of your savings account. So you go buy this ring, and they're like, well, Julian, sorry to inform you, but you actually have no money. Well, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's fighting words. That's fighting words. 3 years I've been putting money into this account, and like now you're telling me that I have no money in the account. Like, what the heck happened to my money? What did you do with it? Where did you put it? I'd be pretty pissed off. Where do you guys think most of that money goes? Goes to the agent, right? A lot of it, right? So, these policies, they're really, really expensive most times, right? Like if you guys were to run a quote for like 100,000 in coverage on like a 30-year-old, I promise you it won't come out to, $100 a month. All right, actually, 150,000, because with Primerica we have banding. 150,000 is actually cheaper than 100,000, but that's another conversation. All right, but these policies are super, super expensive, and these agents get paid huge commissions. I unfortunately, I had an agent that decided that it was in his better interest to go sell whole life insurance and IULs and things like that. And and I mean, see him sometimes posting. He's like, "Oh, one client, I made like $2,000 off this client, yada yada yada." Right? Absolutely insane. Like you got paid 2,000 because you took a client's money. That's you sold them on the fact that they'd be saving money for retirement and that it would be a great investment for them. Right? You got paid 2,000. And I get paid 2,000 because I did something good for the client. You got paid 2,000 because you told the client they're saving for retirement, but instead you took that money and you pocketed it. Right. And I mean, not all the money goes to the agent. I mean, a portion of it goes to, pay the company's, upkeep and things like that. And the company keeps a portion of it, yada, yada, yada. But for the most part, right, that's where that money goes. Right. The next thing is that, like, we talked about competitive returns earlier, right? It's like a myth that they always talk about, oh, we got competitive returns. Most of their accounts, they average like 1 to 4%. It's terrible returns. Dude, I can go open up a high yield savings account and go get 1 to 4% in a savings account with a bank. I can go get a CD for 1 to 4%. It's not competitive and it's guaranteed. Like, not competitive whatsoever. All right. And then, we talked about the whole borrow your money, yada, yada, yada. Right. But I mean, you borrow your money at a 6 to an 8%. So you're paying it back with more than you're earning in interest. So how is it a great investment? That doesn't make any sense. All right. So what in the world is Primerica's solution? And I mean, to keep it like less technical, essentially what these companies do, I'm not gonna get like super, super deep into it. It'll get like very, very technical. I don't think we got time for that today. But essentially what these companies do is that they sell you like a whole life insurance policy, George, and they buy term and they invest the difference on you. All right. So what I mean by that, right? So they're charging you, $100 for, let's say that they're charging you $100 a month for that 100,000. And then in this example, we gave you, 250,000 for $50 a month. Okay. So essentially what they would do is that they would, offer you that 100,000 for, $100 a month. Then they go buy term insurance on you, okay, to cover you for the rest of your life, right? They go buy term insurance on you. And I mean, 250 here costs $50. Let's say that 100,000 in this situation costs like $35. So they would buy term insurance on you for $30 a month or whatever, and then they would invest the difference into mutual funds and make a return, and the company be massively profitable. Right. And then all they got to do is they just got to give you back 1 to 4%. Well, after the first 3 years, they pocket that for the first, after that, then they just give you 1 to 4% out of their, let's say the market average is 12% every single year. Right. They just got to give you back 1 to 4% and they keep the difference. I mean, that's a great business model to make money, but a terrible business model for their clients. Wouldn't you guys agree? You see, what the founder of our company, what he figured out is that, well, this is what the companies were doing. This is what whole life, universal, and variable life insurance companies, what they were doing. And he was like, man, instead of like screwing over the client, why don't we just teach the client to do what the companies do? Right? Why go to a whole life company? Why go to an IUL company if you can just do it yourself? Right. And so, well, that's what we teach. We teach our clients just to simply buy term and invest the difference. Now, don't get me wrong, there's problems with term life insurance. People ask me like, oh, well, like, what's the downside? I always say this to people, and you guys should too. Right? I blatantly tell them this. And actually, it's kind of funny because then they think that I'm like not trying to close them, but then I'm trying to close them. But I'll tell them, Jake, I'll say, so term life insurance, like the downside is, well, it's in the name, it's term. It only covers you for a certain period of time. Like my term life insurance policy is only 35 years. Like if I die, after 35 years, like then what? Like, don't you think you got another good like 35 years in you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, great, awesome. But do you really know that you have 35 years left? No, right? So that's why you need term life insurance, is in case you die too soon. You see, but Jake, I'm not here to sell you life insurance. Like that's not my job. That's not what I do. I'm here to teach you how to build generational wealth. All right. Which one are you more interested in? You want life insurance? You want generational wealth? All right, perfect. So, and that's exactly like how I have the conversation with them. I explain to them like, this term life insurance, like it only covers you for a little bit of time, but like we're here and like for the long game. We're here to build you like wealth. And so I'll say to them, I'll say, Jake, look, so your life insurance policy, I want you to think of it as you're renting the money that you don't already have. Right? Like if you don't own a home, what do? Why? So you have a roof over your head, right? Yeah, right. So I mean, if you don't have $500,000 in cash, what should you do? Rent it. Yeah, right. But once you save 500,000, do you still need to keep renting? Like if I own a home, why would I keep renting? Does that make any sense? It wouldn't make any sense. What would I do? I'd stop renting and live in the home, right? That'd be like the smart thing to do, right? So that's what I'm going to teach you how to do. I'm going to teach you to buy term insurance so you can rent the money that you don't already have. It's the cheapest life insurance you could possibly get and give you the most amount of coverage as well. All right. Wouldn't you like that? Don't you like deals? Yes. All right, perfect. So that's what we're going to set you up with. All right. But then we're going to invest the money that you save on a monthly basis. And then over time, by the time that these 35 years are over and whatnot, you're going to have more money saved than you have in life insurance coverage. And if you have more money if you have more money saved in an account, do you really need the life insurance anymore? No, you're what we like to call self-insured. You don't need life insurance anymore, right? You can live off your investments, and then God forbid, you pass away, your family will inherit your investments. You'll be perfectly fine, totally financially independent. Does that make sense? Now, depending on what state you're in, I mean, not a tax guy, I don't know if George is on here or whatever, but certain states have like inheritance taxes and things like that. I know a lot of wealthy people, they buy life insurance, and they keep their life insurance, even if they are super wealthy, to mitigate their inheritance taxes and things like that. So if you want to keep your life insurance, you definitely can keep it. You don't have to just let it expire. When it hits like that 35-year mark, you can continue to keep it if you'd like. All right, does that make sense? All right, now which side would you rather be on? And everybody always tells me this side. Right? That's a very, very like technical way, to get through it. But at some point in time, we got to get very, very technical and very good at what we do. All right. So, but that's essentially like how it works, right? And so, well, what are mutual funds, right? Mutual funds are just a pool of investments, right? The way I like to break it down to people is like this, right? We've all heard of stocks, right? All right, perfect. We've all heard of stocks, right? Now, this is stocks right here, and these are mutual funds. All right. So I got two elevators right here, right? One elevator, the stocks elevator, right, has one cord holding you up in the air. If sorry, what's your name?
Anthony.
Anthony, right? So Anthony, if I told you that, you had to take all your wealth, your family, everything that you have, everything that you own, put it inside of one of the elevators to get to the top of Empire State Building, and I give you $1 million once you did that, which elevator would you feel more comfortable putting everything that you have, your family, your money into?
Mutual fund.
Yeah, right? Because why?
Because it's diverse.
Well, there's a bunch of different cords holding you up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that point. It's fair to say, right? But because we got a bunch of different cords that are holding us up in the air. Like there's security in that, right? Like in this example right here, I mean, if I cut this one cord right here, what happens? I mean, that elevator is hitting the ground, right? So, well, with mutual funds, I mean, even if I erased, 50% of these cords here, I mean, would the elevator, would it fall? It'd be kind of scary. Like, imagine you're like sitting in the elevator and you're just chilling, you're in the elevator. All of a sudden, like half the cords that are holding you up, they just all get cut. I mean, like that's pretty scary, right? So like I'd be pretty scared, but I wouldn't die. Right. I mean, and being scared is better than dying, right? Okay. So, I'd be pretty scared, but I wouldn't die just yet, right? So, but the great thing about mutual funds, right? So, a few different key aspects, right? So, what I mean by when I say that we're into like a pool of investments, so it's not just one stock, it's like hundreds of stocks, right? Now, wouldn't you agree with me that, one person individually is not very predictable, but a group of like 100 is pretty predictable? Like we can kind of guess what they're going to do for the most part. I mean, that's how we come up with statistics, right? Yeah. So, a group of stocks is very, very predictable. We kind of anticipate on what the market's going to do for the most part. We don't know with 100% certainty, but we can kind of assume, we can kind of guess. Make sense? All right, perfect. But also the great thing with mutual funds, like you mentioned, well, we're also diverse. We're in different asset classes. Right. So, some of them, they might be in technology. Some of them might be in the the medical field. Some of them might be in like the oil space. Right. And some of them, they actually have histories of paying out, like 30 years worth of dividends. Wouldn't you want to make money off your money? Yeah. Right. So you can actually get paid from these investments too. Right. It's called a dividend. Right. The companies, they'll pay you back a percentage of their earnings on a yearly basis just because you gave them some of their money. Right. Isn't that pretty cool? Right? So you'll be making money off of it as well. Right? The next thing with these is, and I love this. This is awesome. All right. So we have a portfolio manager. Have you ever heard of a portfolio manager before? Perfect. Right. Their job is super, super simple. I mean, kind of, not really. It sounds simple, but all they do all day is they literally just stare at a computer screen, and their job is to make you money. Right now, some great things about having a portfolio manager. Number one is that they get voted in every single year. In most cases, they get voted in like every single year by the investors of the fund, right? So since you're an investor, you actually get to vote on who's going to be the portfolio manager and so on and so forth. I forget the exact fund's name. I think it's the Franklin Growth Fund. One of the portfolio managers, she's been the portfolio manager for like 30 years. Like that's pretty impressive, right? Yeah, like, I mean, we've had a bunch of presidents in United States history. I don't think any of them, if we held the presidential election every year, that they win 30 years in a row. Wouldn't you agree? Probably not. All right. The other thing is that as a portfolio manager, you have to have your own money invested into the fund. You can't just manage a portfolio. You have to have your own money invested into it too. Right. So not only are they, they're making you money, but they're making themselves money. Don't you think that they want their own money to do good? Yeah. So they have your best interest in mind. And then also, I mean, of course, they get paid for doing what they do. The more money that they make the fund, the more money that they get paid at the end of the year too. Right. And everybody likes themselves, right? Everybody wants to pay themselves more money. So what do you think that those portfolio managers are going to do? Make you money, right? So what their real job, what their real goal, what their real objective is to do is that every single time that one of these, cords that they're doing bad, maybe they're starting to fray a little bit, they're getting down, they might break soon. What they do is they get rid of them. Right? They get rid of them, right? When your tires, when they're starting to get bald, what do? Yeah, you replace them. They do the same exact thing here. They replace them, right, with companies that are doing better. And so, I mean, am I telling you that it's impossible for you to like lose all your money? I mean, no, but theoretically, can I say that? I mean, kind of, just don't tell FINRA I said that, all right? Or the SEC, right? Because the only way for you to really truly lose every single dollar that you have is for all of your every single company that you're invested into, which are like some of the biggest names in the industry, like Tesla, Google, Facebook, Amazon. I mean, companies you use every single day. But for every single one of those companies to hit zero at the same exact time on the same exact day, that hasn't happened since the market has ever existed. Right. So do you think it's going to happen now? Probably not. Right. And so something pretty cool I wanted to share with you here. Um, Actually, I don't think I have it, unfortunately. I'll share with you guys another time. But um, with mutual funds, mutual funds, most of the time they've been averaging over 9%. I mean, we have some accounts that in the last 10 years have averaged like 12, 15%, that we're able to offer through Primerica. I mean, we have access to over 3,000 different funds. Right. And so we're able to sit down with a client, we're able to educate them on some of these different funds, and they're able to actually choose. I mean, with some of our some of our help, right? Because most of the time they don't know what they're looking at, right? But we have access to over 3,000 funds, and we can kind of help our clients and assist them in choosing what mutual funds best suit their needs. There's some mutual funds that are focused on growth, right? Which is great for somebody who's like 18 to like 45 years old. Right, we have some mutual funds that are focused in on providing income for clients, which are great for people that are already retired, right, and already have a little bit of money saved, right? So there's different funds for different types of people and different purposes, and people that are in different sectors of like their financial life. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right. And then another thing with buying term and invest in difference is that it's your money. You don't got to pay this money back. You don't have to borrow it. You can call me and we'll transfer the money into your account. It has to be in your account within like the next like 24 to 48 hours. All right. So it's your money. There is no borrowing it. There is no becoming your own bank. And also, when you pass away, your family gets to actually keep the money. They get to keep your savings. In these whole life, universal, variable life insurance policies, your family never gets to keep any of that money that you were saving this whole time. All right. The company keeps it. Your family they only get the death benefit. All right. That makes sense. Anybody have any questions? Any of the newer people? No? Okay, perfect. All right. So what makes a whole life policy a whole life policy? And you guys didn't know this, just talking to clients, I always ask people before I even get started into a presentation, I ask people if they've ever sat down in front of a financial professional before, and if they have life insurance with their job or outside of their job, or if they have any investments set up inside with their job or outside of their job. I always ask that before I even share my screen. I don't even bother sharing my screen until I understand that first. Right. And so by asking those like kind of questions, people kind of tell you most of the time they don't really know 100% of like what they have, but you can get an idea of what they have based off of how they respond. So some things that they might say is they're like, well, I know that I'm like, covered my entire life. What does that mean? Whole life. Well, I know I have like 100,000 in coverage and I'm paying like $150 a month for it. What does that sound like? There you go. Right. I didn't get to choose like the investments I got put into, kind of just got put into it, but I know that there's like savings attached to my life insurance. Whole life, right? Or an IUL, right? I know that I can borrow my own money. I know I can take a loan out, any type of cash value life insurance, right? There were some charges and some fees that I need that needed to be paid on the policy that I pay every single year. I think they're like $300. Any type of cash value. If you look at any type of like cash value life insurance policy, that's literally what they're getting charged. It's like $300 or whatever. Primerica, we only charge our clients a $65 policy fee. Right? What does that money go do? First of all, it's only $65. I ain't doing much with it. But all that it does is that we just use that money to be able to like print out copies and things like that, pay for like ink at the home office, pay like the underwriters and things like that, right? The people that made the decision on life insurance policy. So we take $65 from every single life insurance policy and we use it to pay those expenses to keep the business afloat, right? We got some overhead, right? So how do we get it back? Through those $65 policy fees. That's it. All right. And by the way, if you guys are ever calculating your commission and then you guys are like, well, how come I got paid less than, what it said? Because you probably forgot to subtract the $65, policy fee. You don't get paid on the $65 policy fee. All right. Also, they talk about like a surrender charge. They know that like for a certain amount of years, there's like a surrender fee or whatever, some type of cash value. Right? If they're talking about that they're paying a lot of money, they got a small death benefit, right? Or if they have like a very, another one I need to add into here, if they have like a very weird amount, like a very weird amount of coverage on the life insurance policy. Like, the other day I was looking at a policy, they had 398,000 and like $764 in death benefit. Like such a weird amount, like so specific, right? Like every single time that's always like some sort of like cash value life insurance, 100% of the time. You'll never see a term life insurance policy that has like all those weird numbers. All right. So some companies to look out for and to kind of like know what they do so you can beat them. All right. Gerber life insurance, they sell to like kids. Usually the person's probably had it for like quite some years, yada, yada, yada. I mean, most of the time you'll only really run into this if the person's in their young, if like less than like 30 years old, probably like less than 40 years old, they might have like a Gerber life insurance policy. All right. And they probably had it since they were a kid. Oh, mom got me life insurance. When I was like first born, I had it my entire life. More often than not, it's probably Gerber. Globe Life, they're notorious for whole life insurance. They don't really offer IULs, variable, or anything like that. They simply just offer, for the most part, they simply just offer whole life insurance policies. All right, New York Life, a lot of IULs and a mixture of whole life as well. Northwestern Mutual, probably the most annoying company to compete with. All right, and I'll explain why. All right, so they're very smart in what they do. All right. So what they do for every single client is that they sell them two life insurance policies. All right. So they sell them in an annual renewable term life insurance policy. All right. So that's the first policy they sell them. They'll give you an annual renewable term life insurance policy. If you guys know anything about that, very cheap, very inexpensive, and it looks really good, but eventually it gets to the point where the client can't afford it anymore. It might start off at like $20 a month, and it'll jump up to like $40 a month, and just keep going. And then as you get into like, let's say if you got it at 18, by the time you're like 40 years old, that policy might be like $300 a month. So keep jumping, but so they might give you like I don't know, like 300,000 in coverage for $20 a month. Right, that's probably what we'll start off as. But and then they'll also sell you a whole life insurance policy on the back end as well. Very like minuscule coverage. Like they'll give you like 10,000 in coverage and like $50 a month. Very cheap. Right. And then so for like their like total coverage, look really good because their total coverage will say, something along the lines of so it'll say like the 300,000, like it'll say like 350,000 for like $60 a month. And you're gonna be like, what the heck? How in the world am I gonna compete with this? But you got to get the policy, you got to look at it. Okay. All right. The next one is American Income Life. IUL heavy. Super IUL heavy. And then they also do a lot of whole life insurance policies. So if you guys if you guys hear these names, you guys see these names, you guys already know what they're more likely going to do. Now there's some agencies that are on Tampa. I mean, I'll just name them for you, but there's Insurance Elevated or Elevated Insurance, whatever the heck they want to call themselves. So they're a part of Globe Life, right? They sell, Globe Life insurance policies for the most part, right? And then the other one is, oh, sorry, got that backwards. Arias Agency. Arias Agency, they're attached to Globe Life. They're a division of Globe Life. Now, Globe Life is they have a division called the American Income Life. So two of the companies are actually facts. I worked for American Income Life. Right. So, there's Globe Life, which is the really big company. And they even own a stadium. I forget what sports team they own the stadium to. But so we have Globe Life, then it goes American Income Life. And then underneath American Income Life, the agency that's here in Tampa is called Arias Agency. All right. And then if you go on their social media platforms, they'll say Arias Agency, a division of it'll say American Income Life Division. All right. Now, the other agency that I was talking, Cowboy Stadium. Thanks, Nick. Now, the other agency I was talking about is Insurance Elevated or Elevate Insurance, whatever they call themselves. They're a branch of Family First Life.
Okay,
Right?
what is called?
Very similar to like Family First Life. Okay.
Hello?
Now, you guys got to know the numbers as well. You guys got to be competent in what it is that you guys do. All right. 52% of people don't have any life insurance right now in the United States. But you guys ever run the office, you're like, man, like who can I close? Like I need to hit, I want to do like 20,000 this month. Like, who can I close? Like, oh my God, guys, 52% of people don't have any life insurance. I promise you, if you go door knocking on 100 doors, 52% of them statistically won't even have any life insurance. I mean, and then you just got to close them. I'm not condoning door knocking, but if you really wanted to, I mean, you could. All right. Because 52% of people, they don't even know about life insurance. They don't have life insurance, or maybe they wanted life insurance, never had a conversation with somebody about it. I mean, how many times do you guys get on a KT after doing an orientation and they're like, man, I've actually been thinking about getting life insurance. I just never knew who to talk to. I just, yesterday, exactly, George, right? It happens all the time simply just because people just didn't even know who to talk to, right? You know how you solve your problems? Anytime you talk to Bob Uson, that's what he'll tell you. Just go talk to more people, stupid. Like, that's literally what he'll tell you. Just go talk to more people and he'll call you stupid, right? And then, 41% of people, they don't even have enough coverage, right? We recommend to have 10 times your annual income. 41% of people don't. I think that number is way higher. I see so many policies and most people do not have that. I mean, I even write policies. People don't have that much because they can't afford it, right? But also, 25% of people have no savings whatsoever. Like not even a savings account, no money stored away anywhere. I mean, in terms of like mutual funds, I mean, probably way more than that. But just savings in general, 25% of people don't even have anything. All right. And then 60% of people that have life insurance have whole life insurance. That's the easiest conversation in the world. They already believe in life insurance. They already have life insurance. All you got to do is just explain to them what I just explained to you today. Very simple, very easy. Yes or yes? Right? What do you got to do? Go talk to more people, stupid. All right. And then also the average whole life insurance coverage across the United States is $50,000 in coverage, guys. Isn't that insane? It's 50,000 in coverage. What is $50,000 going to do? The average funeral cost right now in the United States, you guys know what it is? It's like $25,000. Yeah, it's like 25,000, roughly around there. Right? $25,000 is like the average burial cost. 50% of your death benefit is already gone. Imagine if you have young kids, right? You're in your 30s, you have some younger children, right? And 20,000 goes to your funeral expenses. What in the world is the extra 25,000 going to take care of if I have an 8-year-old child and I'm 30 years old? What in the world is that 25,000 going to do for that kid? Literally nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's not going to do anything for him. It's not even going to put him through college. Even with FAFSA and student assistance, all this crap. I mean, USF is still expensive. I thought that USF was a cheap school. I guess there's no such thing as a cheap school. All right, they're expensive. All right. All right. Yeah. And so, this is actually a poll that was done by Forbes, right? And it's for the top reasons for not even purchasing any form of life insurance. So, it's 53% of people, they just thought that life insurance was just too expensive. So they just didn't even bother with it. They're like, I'm just not even going to have a conversation with anybody. And that's most people. They just can't afford it. I don't know. Right? I mean, you guys think about car insurance. How expensive is car insurance? Ridiculous, right? The training yesterday, I think it was Brian. He said that his car insurance, he was like, "Oh, I don't have a car payment," and then he asked him about like car insurance, and then he was like, "Oh, like $500 a month." I was like, "What the heck?" Right? But like that was like his immediate response was like $500 a month. I got a quote the other day for health insurance, and it was car insurance is a scam. I agree with you. But I got a quote for like health insurance the other day and whatnot. Because I forgot to like do like my physical this year, and so I wasn't able to put on my dad's insurance. I'm still 25, guys. I'm not 25 yet, so I still be on my dad's insurance. I gotta pay for it. I'm taking it. But you know what they quoted me? Absolutely insane. They quoted me like $400 a month. I am ridiculously healthy. My average like resting heart rate is? It's 42 beats per minute. That's my resting heart rate. I'm ridiculously healthy. They quoted me $400 for some health insurance coverage. Absolutely insane. And so, well, it makes sense why people might think that it's too expensive, right? When you think of insurance, it's expensive in general. All right. I'm too young to even think about it. It's like 10% of people. All right. I don't think it's even worth the cost. 9% of people. All right. Most people that you guys are going to talk to is not because that they're not interested in life insurance. Most of them is just because that they just think that is way too expensive and never even like had a conversation about it. I mean, only 9% of people think that it's not worth the cost of having it. Right. And then 6% of people think I don't need any life insurance whatsoever. And then 21% of people, I mean, whatever other creative reasons they come up with. All right. So guys, like it's out there for you. All we got to do is we got to go out there. We got to go talk to more people, right? We got to go talk to more people. It's that simple. Yeah. And I'll finish off with this training right here. But guys, the harsh truth is that you're doing too much and making too little. Right? Honestly, a lot of us, right? We're doing way too much in Primerica and we're making too little. Right? Anybody else feel that way? Yeah. All right. You feel like you write all the life insurance policies, write all the apps that come through for the month? Yeah. Nobody does me. You guys don't write most of the apps for your team? No, all right. I was about to say, I don't know if I'm crazy or like the leaderboards were lying to me or what, but I was about to say, most of you guys in this room, you write most of the apps on your team. All right. You close every single sale for the most part. All right. That's not duplication. That's you just having a job. That's the same thing as you just, not recruiting at all and just cold calling people. Right. They have the same exact outcome. Right. They close every single sale. They do every single appointment. Right. And also, if they're not licensed, you're not getting paid. You only get paid when your new agents get licensed, right? That's duplication. Like that's building an agency, right? What makes Primerica Primerica is number one, the overrides. Like when you think of Primerica, what differentiates Primerica from any other company is the fact that we have an amazing override system. It's funny. Alexis, she recruited like some guy from another company, and his like brother still works at the company or whatever. But he came over here, and she was telling me about. She's talking to me about this last night, and what I guess he's like the equivalent of like a regional leader over there. Right. And he was like, man, I'm about to get my next promotion, yada, yada, just like talking trash about Primerica. And Alexa, she asked him, she's like, well, what's your contract level? And he was like, oh, I'm at a 78% right now. And then she was like, okay, so what's like your next promotion? Like, what are you going to jump to? Lewis, what do you think that he said? It's the funniest thing ever. 79%, 1% higher. It was so funny. It was 1% higher. But what you guys want to know what's even funnier than that is that like that contract level doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't mean anything. Like they don't actually get paid their contract level. You guys know that, right? I don't know if some of you guys remember like that training I had done like previously where I broke down like the different companies and like like their contract levels and things like that. So like depending on like what type of life insurance policy that they have, like for example, they have like their highest contract level was like 130%, and that was at like Family First Life, which is also same as like that elevated agency I was talking about. But at Family First Life, they have their highest contract level was like 130%. Now, technically their highest like compensation on like a whole life insurance policy, even though they're at 130, so they claim, oh, I'm at 130%, but their highest compensation is really at 85%. Like they sold a policy, they make like 85% of the premium. It's kind of insane, right? Yeah. Right. The next thing is like duplication. Right. Like you guys here, like you guys have the ability to hire, train, develop, and recruit new agents and build your own agency. Right. You guys also have the ability to promote regional vice presidents to open up distribution outlets of your agency. Like no other company allows you to do that. Unless you guys have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to go and literally start your own agency by yourself. That's the only way. Right? But Primerica provides you with the system. We provide you with the product. We provide you with the system. All these things. All you got to do is just actually go out there and go do it. Like, that there's like people that are like praying to like build their own agency. I'm sure like somewhere across the country, there's some guy that like his goal is like he wants to build his own life insurance agency, make a bunch of money, and become stupid rich. Somewhere. But he doesn't know that Primerica exists. And so he's thinking that he can't build his agency simply because he doesn't have enough funding to pay for leads, to do all this stuff, to have his own office, to do like he doesn't have enough money to do it. And so he just hasn't done it yet. You see, but a lot of us, like, we already have all that stuff taken care of here in Primerica, and you have the ability to go out there and go build your own agency, but we haven't done it yet. Not because the resources aren't available, but because we're not being resourceful and because we're not getting our butts to work. Right. Next thing, all right. MVPs, they don't get rich. The most valuable player on the team, like they're not the one that gets rich, right? The coaches do, at least in Primerica, right? The coaches are the ones that get rich, right? I think Bob Buson, you think that when's the last time he wrote a life insurance policy? He's not the MVP in his organization. He's not the guy that goes out and writes all the apps. He's not the guy up there in trainings, hiring, training, developing new people, giving morning trainings. No, but he's the richest in his hierarchy. That's for sure. Right? By far the richest in his hierarchy. Right? If you close every sale, like you don't have a team. All right. What's your real job? Your real job is to build the team. Your real job is to lead the meetings. Your real job is to develop the next coach. I don't want to be the MVP. I want to develop the next MVP in the office. Right? You need to stop being the MVP and start building an MVP for your team. Right? That's where your focus needs to be. Is like where can I find the next regional leader? How am I going to develop this guy into becoming my next superstar, my next example here in the office? That's what I need to be focused in on. And guys, it pays to stay. This is a slide that I took from MIT, and this is Joe Ward, if I remember correctly. I believe this is Joe Ward. All right, so his first full year in Primerica, his first like actual legit 12 months in Primerica. This is his numbers. He recruited 46 people and he made $17,000 that year. That is terrible. That is horrible. I mean, some of you guys recruited 46 people last month. All right. He did it in an entire year. I mean, if you guys want to divide that by 12, I'm no mathematician, but somebody want to do it on your calculator for me. I mean, like, that is like terrible numbers. What is that? Like, yeah, like maybe 4 months, right? Like, that is horrible. Right. He said, but thank God I didn't quit because his total income over the next 35 years is $16.7 million. Yeah, exactly, Adolfo. Exactly. Right. 16.7 million is what he was paid over the next 35 years. Right. All he had to do was just not quit. And so, well, if you average that out from day one, when he first got started, he was making $478,000 per year. Would you quit if your first year that you're guaranteed an income of 478,000 a year? I definitely would. I still wouldn't, but he was like, so what? So he said, so what did my first year? What did I really earn? If you were to average it all out, because he said it doesn't matter about where you're at. It matters about where you're going. It matters about the people that the environment that you're a part of. It matters about the people around you. It matters about where Primerica is going as a company. That's what really matters, not where you're at. Because if Primerica's headed in the right direction, that means that you're headed in the right direction. And last time I checked, we've promoted more $1 million earners than ever before. We have more people making 100,000 than ever before. We have more people, crossing over different income milestones every single year, more than ever before. We're promoting more RVPs and opening up more offices than ever before. So if Primerica's headed in the right direction, what does that mean for you guys? You're headed in the right direction. Okay. The next thing that I'll zoom this in for you guys, but the power of 30 licenses, an additional 30 licenses added to your team will add 10,000 in premium on average in Primerica. 30 licenses, 30 new codes adds 10,000 in premium for your team. So for an RVP, 10,000 of additional base shop premium could increase cash flow by $100,000 a year, theoretically, right? They don't keep QBI an account to this, but theoretically, right? It would increase cash flow by 100,000 a year. Right? I mean, you guys can do the same calculations at your guys' contract levels to figure out what it would be. But, and then also 2,500 equity qualified new RVPs over the last decade averaged 25 to 30 new life licenses at the time of promotion. Right? So what does that mean? If you guys want to get promoted, well, the last 2,500 RVPs that got promoted in Primerica, at least when I went to MIT, right? The last 2,500 RVPs, myself included, and everybody before me, they all averaged 25 to 30 new life insurance licenses before they got promoted. Does that not tell you something? Anybody here want to become an RVP? You guys were like excited in the beginning. I mean, now you guys like go dead. Do I need to like make you some coffee? All right. Who here wants to become an RVP? Okay. All right. So what do you need to do then, Julian? Go add 25 to 30 new licenses to your team, right? And you're going to start a wave of new leaders and production coming through. Okay. Now, this I find so interesting. I find this so interesting. So 27,634 reps from January to July of 2024. All right. The total cash flow that these people were paid, they made $24 million collectively, all of them. So if you divide that up by like that 27,000, I forget what it is. I did the math some other time. You guys can if you want to, but it's a stupid amount of money. They made a decent amount of money, these like new people. But their first year, the amount of life apps that they did 65,000 life apps their first year in Primerica collectively. All right. Their first 3 months in the business, they did 32,000 life apps. Right. That's a lot of production for some new people. They did 32,000 life apps, right? But then the next like 4 to 6 months, they only did 16,000. Then the next 7 to 9 months, they did 10,000. Then the next 10 to 12 months, they only did 8,000. What do you see there, George? People get unmotivated. People get tired, right? People stop. People slow down. As you guys can see clearly, right? Out of 27,000 people, I mean, imagine you had 27,000 licensed agents, Coach Eric, all right? And the hierarchy only did like 8,000 life apps. Be like, what the heck? Why? That makes no sense, right? We got 27,000 people. How in the world did we only do 8,000? Right? But like the first like 3 months in Primerica, we did 32,000. You see anybody feel like there's been a lack of production recently? Let's be honest. Yeah, there's been a lack of production, a lack of motivation, a lack of excitement, right? A lack of getting after it. Honestly, a lack of attendance even. Right? You know what that is? Because this people get unmotivated. If you guys go and you guys look at your guys' trends throughout, just the last, 12 months. I mean, if you guys go look at, the trend over your guys' career in Primerica, for some of you guys that have been here for quite some time, you know what? One thing that I can promise you for every single person that's in this room, your guys' amount of licenses on a monthly basis, your average decreased. Your yearly averaging or your yearly licensing numbers, if you've been here for quite some time, is decreased. So you know what also happened? Your motivation, your excitement level, the amount of production coming through the organization, it also decreased, right? So if we want to get back after this thing, if we want to go make some serious money, I don't know about you guys, but I want to make some serious money. Miguel Illich at convention, this is my favorite speech I've ever heard. And I listened to it, I'm not even joking, I listened to it every single morning. Like at one point, I clipped like a part of like the speech and I made it my alarm clock on my Alexa. I'm being so serious. I was waking up to that thing in the morning, right? Because that speech, it gets me fired up. He said, if you want to make professional money, right? You want to make a professional income, which I mean is makes like 4 million and some change, whatever it is. I totally forget. But like that's a professional contract. Like my cousin, he just got signed to the Chiefs. I mean, like he's making more money than my cousin is. I mean, Keith Otto, he's making more money than my cousin does, right? And he plays in the NFL. So, like he said, if you want to play at a professional level, then like if you want to make professional income, you need to play up at a professional level. And he says, so let's step up our game, right? Like what we're doing right now, we're rookie numbers, right? We need to step up our game. We're not doing enough. We're not licensing enough, right? Our attitude and our excitement isn't enough. My very first speech in Primerica ever was at a TBLS, right? And that was my talk. It was actually the only two things I was talking about. Two things that you can actually control. The only things, like I can't control how many people show up. I can control how many people I invite. Like if we have an op meeting on Thursday, I mean, I've invited like 10 people. 2 people told me that they'd show up, but I can't like go up to Eric and say, hey, Eric, I can promise you 2 people are showing up. I can't guarantee it, but I can control how many people I invited, right? But I can control my attitude and the amount of activity I have on a daily basis. You can't show up to this office with no appointments. You can't show up to this office with 3 appointments. Let's think about this logically. And this is how I talk to my team. I'll close out with this. This is exactly how I talk to my team, guys. Whether you like it, you hate it, I don't care. Right? Talking to my base, I don't care. Right? This is how we have conversations. Right? Hey, George, if you have 3 appointments for today, let's think about this. You're going to go up to me and say, hey, coach, I got 3 appointments for today. I'm going to say, great. What kind of appointments are there? See, the reason why I asked that question is because if you have 3 interviews, my team does interviews and like sometimes they do them. If they don't like the person, they do that in like 10 minutes, sometimes even less. Right? So let's say it takes you 30 minutes. That was an hour and 30 minutes of your day. Let's say you got here at 9 o'clock and you plan on leaving here at like 6. What in the world did you do all day? Like, I'm genuinely confused. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Does that make sense to anybody else? You got 3 appointments. Uno, dos, tres, Jake. You got 3. And you're trying to figure out why you're not a multi-million-dollar earner, why you don't have a team of 100 licensed agents, why you're not on your way to becoming a vice president. The answer, stupid, as Bob Busan would say, is because you got 3 appointments on a daily basis. You work an hour and 30 minutes a day, but you're in the building for 12 hours. And then you complain that you're not getting to where you're at. It's because you work you work an hour and 30 minutes. You don't work 12 hours. Don't fool yourself. Don't go home and go tell your parents, oh man, today was such a great day. Like we got after it. Like we did so much appointments. Like, man, we're killing it. Like life's great. It's not. You worked for an hour and 30 minutes. Let's be real. Right? Oh, can you come hang out this weekend? You might as well tell your friends that you can hang out this weekend because you only do an hour and 30 minutes of work a day. Hey, you want to go to the club tonight? Dude, you might as well tell them yes. You might as well tell them yes, you can. Why tell them no if you're going to work an hour and 30 minutes a day? What's the point? You're not doing anything. You're fooling yourself. And I don't know about you guys, but an hour and 30 minutes a day, and playing, soccer, like that's not enough to get good. Like that's not enough. And honestly, I mean, if you did, it'd take you a really, really long time to get good. When I was training when I was younger, I'd train like an hour in the morning and I train an hour at night, train like 2 hours a day, pretty much. Every single day since I was like 6 years old. But then by the time I was 18, I was good. You guys want it to take that long? Because if you do want it to take that long, then go ahead, work your hour and 30 minutes every single day. You'll be fine. Just expect, for it to take 10 years for you to make 100,000. But I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to do this thing really, really fast. I wanted to make a lot of money really fast because when I got started, Edward was 27, making $200,000 a year. And I wanted those results. I wanted to make that kind of money, and fortunately I did it in a shorter time frame. Our first year we recruited 500 people, or sorry, we recruited a million, we recruited 1,000 people. I'm like, I'm messing up, like, like recruiting in like premium numbers. Right? We recruited 1,000 people my first year. We did like $500,000 in life insurance premium. Like, no, like obviously we were going to like make it. Yeah, I mean, we could have done better on licensing. We licensed like almost 80 of them. It was like 70 and some change, right? We could have done better on that, right? But like we got our butts to work. It was evident, like it was obvious that I was working. Like you can't say that like we didn't work. But like if you look at your numbers, like, and if you were to spread them out across the entire year, can you really say that like you actually worked? And for most of us, the answer is absolutely not. We worked an hour and 30 minutes a day. Because if I go around this room and I ask everybody how many appointments you have for today, most people are going to say 3. I've been asking my team since I got started in Primerica how many appointments you have. And I hear the number 3 more than anything else. Everybody got 3 appointments, always. Now, you ain't got to tell me how many, but most of you, I promise you the answer is 3. All right. It's just not enough. All right. The next problem that everybody has in Primerica is that you've been here for too long while not growing, and you're the problem. You see, a lot of you guys recruit low quality people, and you're trying to figure out why in the world is this guy not gonna, like make $1 million a year here? Because he's a bum. You found him at Thornton's at the gas station. Like, he's a bum. That's why he's not gonna make it here. Right? You can't recruit a bunch of low quality people and expect for you to have this great, amazing organization. It's not gonna happen. Stop selling, start training. So many people, we want to sell. Stop selling and start training. All right. I promise you, you'll grow. You got to teach people in the process. Why it's called field training. So you can teach people. All right. Zoom doesn't stick. Yeah. I did a training the other quite some time ago, and then somebody was like, oh, no, it does work. No, it doesn't. Right. Zoom doesn't work. Right. You got to get butts in chairs. You got to be in the office. You got to be, with your people. You got to have a relationship with them. And if not, it's not going to work out. I promise you, it does not work out long term. Think about it just like this. All right. The company Zoom. You guys know that Zoom has a headquarters? Do you guys know that? Like Zoom has a headquarters? Like they actually take meetings in an office. Did you guys know that? Like Zoom has an office. Like they meet in person, even though they developed this company called Zoom that we all love and use, but they meet in the office. So if Zoom figured out that Zoom doesn't work, why do you use Zoom? There's a lot of Zooms, but you guys get what I'm talking about. All right. And the next thing, right? Fix the structure, fix the system. You'll fix your guys' results. Try to be in business. Let's go out there and freaking kill it. Let's turn it up, guys. Let's destroy all these whole life IULs, yada, 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 whatever they want to call themselves. All right. And let's turn it up. All right. You guys know who we are. We are.
Give it a. Oh.